Welcome to the Profitable NDIS Provider Podcast, where we're joined by your hosts, Tanya Gomez and Paul Bryan. In each episode, we'll be sharing valuable insights and tips to help you turn your NDIS business into a profitable venture. So whether you're just starting out or looking to take your business to the next level, you've come to the right place. Let's stop surviving and start thriving.
Welcome to the Profitable NDIS Provider Podcast. My name is Tanya and I'm joined by my wonderful co-host, Paul. Welcome, Paul. How are you going today?
I am doing fantastic. It's amazing to be here. Thank you very much, Tanya. And today we're joined by the amazing Michael Clark. Michael, how you going today?
I'm better than good because I haven't hung out with either of you for 4 days and I'm having withdrawal symptoms. And I'm so glad to be back. Tanya, that the Still Summit was just amazing. I met so many good people and I'll bet a heap of them are listening now. And what I loved about it was that you guys, there was such a sense of humility. I thought that, Still, like, there's a bit of reputation among Still of, in a hurry, don't have time to really listen to you. That was the opposite. They were the best people around. So thank you so much for putting that on.
You're welcome. I'm glad you could come. Even though you're not a SIL provider, it was great to have you there.
Yeah.
So, Michael, before we get stuck into it, can you tell us a little bit about what you do and how you help providers?
Yeah, so long story short, most directors are worn out, and that's on a good day. That's on a Monday. You should see them on Friday, right? So I've been a director of an NDIS provider for about 5 years. I wrapped up because the profit margins weren't there. But I know what it's like to, because obviously life changed, but I know it's like to spend 50 hours, 55 hours getting work done just to make sure that you can hit payroll, just make sure that everything works. And then your family's sitting around wishing you were hanging out with them. Okay, I know it's like when my son was really little my son would say to me, "Dad, can you come play Lego?" And I'd look at him like, I wish I would do anything to play Lego with you right now. But if I don't go and fulfill some promises, we don't have bread in a week. So I know what that's like. So for me, my job is making it so directors can get back to their families. And so someone like you, Tanya, means that they don't have to spend their whole life getting ready for audit because you've got that covered for them. Or Paul, what you do is you make sure their internal systems work. You set them up with, system software that works, or a VA or other things so they can actually not be the core part of their business. Their business can function without their constant micromanaging. Whereas for me, I do get the same goal, but I do it by making sure that directors aren't staying up late at night chasing every possible referral, because I help people create a pipeline of almost like clockwork, new inquiries coming in the front door. And so my job is marketing. My job is marketing specifically for NDIS providers. And the way we or you would do those, you want a website that's magic, a website that stands out as warm and caring, not one that's super posh, super professional, just warm and caring. You do that, you're halfway there. You want LinkedIn where you're reaching out to other key people, and people who, not even people that you're going to gain from, but everyone knows someone who knows someone. So I now get 90-something% of my inquiries from LinkedIn. Who'd have thought? And also a podcast. Once you've got the scale of at least 20 staff, you must have a podcast, because to not have a podcast is to ignore one of the easiest ways of getting people who are keen to work with you. There's other ways to grow. There's other ways to do well. But as directors, we need to spend our time at home with our families, not always at the office. And if they've got the compliance sorted by you, Tanya, if they've got the office system sorted by someone like you, Paul, and if they know they're not stressing about, will I have enough new inquiries coming in the next month, in the next 6 months, then I've done my job well.
Amazing. So tell us then, what are the biggest mistakes NDIS providers make when it comes to trying to get referrals in the door?
Lying, telling lies. And when I say that, I don't mean the new provider who's like, "Hi, I can, take you to outer space and back." That's not what I mean. What I mean is people not being themselves. Okay. So who am I at my core? Let's be as real as we can be. I'm a dad. I'm someone who helps NDIS businesses. I probably work a few too many hours. I'm probably about 5 kilos overweight, but I love helping people. That's who I am, right? So if I want the world to interact with me, I've got to turn up as me. Okay. Now, if I turn up as anything different, my friends are actually going to be like, "What happened to Michael? He used to be cool." Okay. So if I turn up to my best mate in a suit on a Friday night, he'll be like, "What are you doing? Like, we're just sitting around eating pizzas. It doesn't fit." Does that make sense? And that's what NDIS providers are doing all the time. And they're basically telling a lie. Hi, I'm super professional. It's like, you've only got 4 participants. How about you just be warm? Or you've got the big players going, oh, I'm so caring, I'm so personal. It's like, mate, you don't even know the support worker's name who's going to go and work with that person. Why don't we just be real? Why don't we just be us? We need small providers to be deliberately small and caring and warm and to know everyone's middle name. And we need the big providers to say, hey, we have got systems that are infallible or almost infallible. We'll make sure you get what you need. The big mistake we make is that we're not telling the truth.
Yeah, fair enough. I think that there's a bit of a push, and anybody wants to put out a certain persona online, and they want to be able to go, yeah, wear this, because they think that's what's needed. But I think a lot of people get mixed up between what they think people want and what people actually want, and there's this big disconnect that often happens in that space.
It's true.
How for NDIS, providers specifically, can you walk us through how, like, I mean, I've seen a lot of ads. So backtrack on this. I've seen a lot of people saying, we'll get you like a bundle of leads, right? And with like 30 leads a month, or you don't pay, all this sort of stuff. Can you walk us really quickly through how NDIS specific ads, be it like Google or Facebook, or even just like LinkedIn, generating more consistent referrals? Because I think it can go up and down a lot for people. What does consistent look like in that area?
Yeah, great question. So the first thing is, if you're paying for ads, something's broken. I'm not saying you should never pay for ads, but if that's your primary way of growth, you're in trouble. Because the ads are like cocaine. They're really good in the short term. Well, I'm guessing, not that I've tried it, but they're also highly addictive, because once you're on it, how do you get off? It's like, oh, life's awesome, until your family leaves and you're still stuck on it. And ads are like that, because they'll work for a season, but then as you grow, as you scale, as you start putting in 50 grand a year into your ads, 100 grand, 150, the more money you put in, the less responsive those ads are, just like a drug. Because the algorithms are designed to go, oh, if they're putting in 100 grand, whereas you used to put in 50 grand a year, well, you're not going to get double the response. Does that make sense? So the thing is, if you're going to use ads, and ads are helpful, ads are good if you want to grow quickly, or if you're a new provider and you've got fairly deep pockets, because they're actually very costly. Because you've got the cost of the ads plus the cost of someone good to run them. Okay. If you're going to do that, talk to the mums and make a promise that you know you can deliver. For example, if someone's website is down, completely down, and they don't know what they're doing, I could pretty much promise them I'll have something up and running for them in 6 hours. That's a promise no one else is going to make, but I could make that promise. I wouldn't enjoy those 6 hours, but I can make the promise. Now, if I put an ad out like that, I'm going to get a response. I don't want to, but I would. And the same way that an NDIS provider who, I was just talking to someone 20 minutes ago, and I said to them, what's magic about what you do? Why would someone choose you? And they couldn't work out what makes them different. I'm like, there's got to be something different. I said, well, if someone phones you at midnight, is someone going to answer the phone? They're like, yeah, last night someone answered the phone at 1 a.m. I'm like, right. Well, why is that not on your website? So if that's what makes you special, then you advertise that. But you don't advertise with glossy anything. Instead, you just advertise with warmth, because most of the people phoning, they're going to be a mum or a support coordinator who's actually just a mum dressed up in a more posh suit. And you want to talk to a mum like you would talk, like Paul, like you would talk to your wife, like Tanya, like you would want someone to talk to you, like my wife would want to be spoken to. It doesn't make sense to talk to my wife like she's some executive, because she's not. That's not who she is in her heart. So if you're going to do an ad, make it warm, make it real, make it honest, tell a promise worth telling, and then do whatever you can to build up your other ways of marketing, so you're not dependent on that cocaine or that ad.
So talk to me then about relationships, because my referrals often come from relationships, and I assume NDIS providers also, their referrals come from relationships, either with support coordinators or LACs or other providers, or other community groups potentially. How can providers build trust at scale while still being visible to the right people?
Be worthy of being referred to. So people send me people who are stuck, who've been screwed over by a big expensive marketing agency. And they're like, Michael, this person's been paying $2,000 a month for this. And I'm like, what the heck? And the first thing we'll do is just cut that off, because it was never going to work. And then we can build. So I saved someone 96 grand a couple of months ago. I saved someone else about 36 grand a couple of months ago. If I've just basically by cutting out unnecessary things before we even get started, if I've saved someone 36 grand, they're going to refer to me because they got 36,000 reasons to refer to me. So be worthy of being someone people will refer to. Be you. Be someone who's unbelievably helpful. Every promise you make, you keep. Okay, there's a promise I made 2 days ago that I haven't kept that I need to get to today. On my desk is a sticky note of a promise I made about a week ago. I didn't set a time frame, but it's getting overdue. That I'm more worried about than my more important task I've got to do today, because every promise I make, I'll keep. So if you want to build trust, be trustworthy. If you want people to refer to you, be referral worthy and go above and beyond. Give. Like on LinkedIn, I probably help 10 people for every one person who actually I end up working with. I don't care, because by helping 10 people, that's how you find the one person. But relationships, they're quick to build, but you can stuff them up really easily. And the key way to stuff them up is to just not deliver on a promise. I guess I'd ask you, Tanya, why is it that you would view me as trustworthy? I'd view you as trustworthy because every time I've sent someone to you, I've got a good response. Paul, I've probably sent you, I hate to think, 10 people this year to have a chat with you and potentially work with you. Every single one of them has had positive things to say. What is it about, say, me that you would say, I would trust him because? And then let's think this through. Let's work this through. Is it because I'm on LinkedIn a lot? That's not it. Is it because I'm loud and obnoxious sometimes? That's not it. What is it, Tanya, that you would say is referral worthy about Michael?
Well, I haven't referred to you yet, Michael, so
I know that, but let's pretend, okay?
For Paul, the reason, so funnily enough, I was doing the podcast for a while with Paul before I sent him any referrals. And that's because I do the podcast with him because he's a lovely guy and he's great and he's a friend and he's part of the network. And that's almost different than being, good enough for a referral. But I would only refer my clients to someone that I knew were actually going to do a really great job. And so with Paul, after I had a number of people say to me, Paul is awesome at what he does. He's really great. I got these results. Then I sent him one, then I sent him another. And then when they gave me positive feedback, then I'm comfortable to send more, because I don't take referral fees for referrals. I don't do it for income. I do it because it's going to help the client and it has to be a win for them. It has to be a win for me. And therefore, it is the win for the person I'm referring to. And so by having a win-win-win, that's the only reason I would ever do a referral. It would never be for dollar. It would never be because someone asked me. It would never be because someone told me they were the best. It would be because someone else told me that they were good and that I had actually tested it a little bit. And also the reverse is true. I've referred to, I won't name them because that's mean, but I've referred to people in the past who I thought were really great, but then I got 1 complaint, 2 complaints, 3 complaints. And at that point, I'd raise it, have a conversation. And if it keeps coming, the only option then I have is not to refer anymore, because I'm getting such bad feedback about, it might not actually be the actual outcome of the job. They might be really good at marketing, but maybe they have really poor communication. Or I've had people tell me that people are rude, racist, inconsistent, unpredictable, unreliable. Those type of things mean you have to, terminate that unofficial relationship of referral. In past organizations, I've had, when I worked in education, you have to have, all referrals have to be documented and they have to be recorded in a register. And so I'd have to, if I got complaints, I'd have to investigate them and formally terminate relationships with formal letters. And that's really quite confronting because, that you send someone a formal letter saying I'm terminating the relationship, you really wreck the personal relationship as well as the professional one. So in NDIS, I don't have to do that. At least the commission hasn't said that yet. But if, for example, I stopped getting good feedback about Paul and people started telling me he was terrible, not turning up for consults, took money, didn't deliver the service, anything like that, I would have to terminate that. So if you reverse that, I think what you say is true. And I know that you're a teacher by background, Michael, as am I. And I think the number one thing that I learned as a teacher that's applicable to business is what they call the circle of security, and how you make a child feel secure in a situation, and we're all just old children, is being consistent, predictable, and reliable. And so in all my business relationships, I try to be consistent, predictable, and reliable. And I therefore expect the people I refer to be the same with my clients, to treat them well, to consistently get back to them, provide a result, and to deliver the service that they say they're going to.
Yeah, and you can't, there's no hack for that. Okay, you're either a consistent person or you're not. And in the same way that I might refer people to, say, people like Chris Lapper, he is by far the best marketer in NDIS by a mile that I know of. Okay, I refer people to him because every time I do, I know they'll get responded to. I won't get let down. I won't look silly, but also because for what they're needing, he's the right guy for them, if I'm referring to him. And so we need to be awesome at something. And people will refer to us for what we're awesome at, even if it's small. So if you look at Chris Lapper's skills, broadly, he's a mile above what I ever will be because he's been doing this for 20 years. If you look at, say, LinkedIn skills, people refer to me over someone else because there aren't many people. Maybe Constatitas has my level of skill on LinkedIn, and you've got to be reliable. You've got to have those personal characteristics, but then there has to be some reason why someone would refer to you for something that can be very narrow, like LinkedIn. Okay, it can be so narrow, but you must be elite at something. How do you become elite at something? You put in the hard yards, you put in the work. So I spend about, on average, 5 hours a week just learning how to use LinkedIn, just learning how to convey a hard point simply on LinkedIn. 5 hours a week, and I've been doing that for nearly a year. So obviously I would have a skill level that there's not much I haven't seen that I can't help someone with. But LinkedIn's actually a very narrow niche. Okay, so one, you got to be the person people would want to refer to because of your character. There's no hacks to that. You either are or you're not. But two, you have to be awesome at your craft and willing to put in the hard work. You've done how many audits, Tanya? I hate to think. Paul, you've helped how many people with hard business coaching issues? I hate to think. So you guys have earned the spot, not just by your character, but also by having the skill set.
I think people want to deal with a specialist in an area rather than a generalist because they know they're going to get specific answers rather than general. But they then go back to their own business and go, I'll be a generalist to hopefully get more clients. And then that's always what falls on deaf ears because there's 200,000 generalists and very few specialists. So you're 100% on there. I will just make a note here that part where Tanya said that Paul's a bad business coach, she won't refer, was analogy. If we can just edit that one really quickly.
I refer to you every day, Paul, so I think there's no problems there.
That's so funny. There you go. Yeah,
Hey,
I can't believe some of the things you do, Paul. Like, let's be real. I once, now remember, I used to do business coaching people. I used to run a business coaching thing for about 20 something people. Okay. It wasn't an NDIS. I know my stuff in business coaching. But I remember coming to you once and going, Paul, what should I do about A, B, and C that I've been thinking through for about 6 hours? And you went, oh, well, have you tried X, Y, Z? I'm like, no. Oh, that solves it for me. Thank you, Paul. Like literally less than 30 seconds, you've given me the answer. And again, that's someone who's elite at something. You're elite at being a business coach. Anything else you try to be, you're not going to be elite at. The other factor is, guys, as a provider, you'll be remembered for one thing. Tanya, it's audits. Paul is coaching. Michael, marketing. But you can't be remembered for multiple things. So you got to choose what that one thing is. Because if you don't choose what you're going to be remembered for and then proactively work towards making sure the whole world knows you're good at that, you'll get remembered for something else. Like you choose your thing.
Yeah. Hey, look, we're on a podcast here. You've got a podcast. You mentioned podcast before, so I've got to ask, how would you use a podcast as a provider to get referrals, build your profile, and how have you seen that work for providers in the space?
It's magic. I actually run 4 podcasts. Okay, so because I run a couple of businesses, but for this one, the magic of a podcast, people think the magic is, oh, people are going to listen and they're going to come and they're going to choose me. I'm going to have constant referrals. That's not how it works. When someone really absorbs your podcast, they only want to work with you. So if I go back about 3 months ago, I had an absolute specialist in the industry say, Michael, can you build X, Y, and Z for me? Sure, I can do that. And can you help me with LinkedIn? Sure, I can do that. And I was like, why would they choose me? Like, for what they're looking for, it's fairly broad. I mean, I'm good, but I'm not their only option for those. Like when I looked at the full package of what they wanted. And I was like, sure, happy to help. How did we come across each other? And she said, I've listened to every single one of your podcasts. Now, at that point in time, that was 27 podcasts at an average of about 20 minutes each. So she's basically spent a whole day and night of her life learning how I think. She's not going to go to anyone else because she knows I'm going to deliver. Does that make sense? So the value of a podcast for your clients is that they know who you are. They know that you are what you say you are. But to be honest, that's only a tiny fraction of the potential of a podcast. Tanya, I first met you because I said, hey, Tanya, can you please come on my podcast? And then I couldn't believe you said yes. And Paul, you were on episode 1 of my podcast. And that was before I knew you at all. And I was like, you said yes. And now once, Paul, you come on my podcast, you and I worked out pretty quickly, gee, this guy knows stuff, you know. And I'm like, I wanted to interact more with Paul because I've had the chance to spend time with him, because it takes about half an hour to do even a short podcast. So you build relationships from that podcast. And then I took that relationship, and I think the message I would have sent you, Tanya, was probably something along the lines of, hey, Tanya, I got to interview your friend Paul Bryan. It was so helpful for people. Do you reckon you'd have half an hour to spend to help more people? Because once you get it's like dominoes. Once you get your first big name on a podcast, the others will fall into place. Now, you can't sustain that if you're producing rubbish podcasts. But if you're producing podcasts that are helpful for people, you end up building all these relationships with high quality people that I do not know how else you would build those relationships. And people have this idea that podcasts are for you, for your benefit. If you do that, you will fail. Now, the truth is, Paul and Tanya, you don't need any more podcasts. You've already got your credibility established. I'm guessing your goal in these podcasts is, yes, it's helpful for your marketing, but in truth, you just want to help people. Okay. And if you approach your podcast with not, I need to make myself look knowledgeable, but I just need to help people, you win. So everyone who comes on my podcast, I'm not telling them my thoughts. Like today's a different day. I'm being interviewed. When I'm interviewing, I'm just giving them the platform. I want them to look good. I don't actually care how I look. I just want people to get something amazing from it. And when you have that attitude with a podcast, it will grow. It will grow slowly, but it will grow. And the value of a podcast, though, is not what you get, it's what you give. Because when you're making relationships with people like Paul or people like Tanya, it's like, Paul, you and I went for a wander down the beach the other day. We're at the summit. Or Tanya, you helped me out by sending me some photos that were really helpful for LinkedIn. It's like people who care about you will reciprocate and they'll help each other. But podcasts are really just a way of helping people. If you help people thoroughly on your podcast, yes, a bit of work will come to you, but more importantly, you'll have genuine relationships with people. And that is worth more than an extra client or two.
Absolutely. So my last question for you today, Michael, is if you were starting today from scratch with a provider who had no referral network at all, what's the first thing, the lowest hanging fruit that you would do to attract participants for a provider?
That's really easy, and very few people do it in the early days. It would be LinkedIn. And the thing is, you can't just use LinkedIn like you use Facebook or Instagram. So Facebook and Instagram, you just go and post about yourself. They're broadcasts. You're telling the world about you. On LinkedIn, you do need to be real about you, but then you use LinkedIn to connect with other key leaders and other key people. And in the same way that I connected with both you guys by having a podcast, and both of you and I have a shared goal of helping people get further ahead. Okay. On LinkedIn, you connect with people by actually sending them a message of something that's helpful for them. So people have this idea, I'm going to connect on LinkedIn. I'm going to find 1,000 support coordinators and they're all going to send me everyone and I'll be fine. It's like, no, that's self-absorbed. It's not going to work like that anyway. Plus support coordinators don't spend a lot of time on LinkedIn. I can promise you that. So instead of that, you just connect with everyone. You find people who you can help and who can help you. Someone's got like their business is going down the drain and they're getting in touch with me thinking that I can rescue that with a website. No, you need to go and talk to Paul Bryan. Someone else has got no time to put into their business because all they're dealing with is compliance issues and problems because their compliance is a mess. I'll happily send them to Tanya. And then all I do is just send them one message to say Paul or Tanya with them LinkedIn because it's so quick. Relationships are built so quickly. So the magic of a new provider on LinkedIn is that they can show what they do, but what they're actually trying to do is connect with other directors, other leaders. You don't aim at the BDMs. BDMs are the business. Okay, you aim at directors because they tend to be the most giving, if we're honest, and the most willing to share ideas and help each other. And then you just find ways to help people. I send an average of about 25 messages on LinkedIn, just helping people. Hey, I saw this resource. I thought this might help you. Or, hey, I saw on your post you're struggling with XYZ. You need to talk to Paul Bryan. And then you immediately go and connect them with people. The low-hanging fruit in terms of marketing would be LinkedIn. But then in the real world, the low-hanging fruit is just be awesome at people and go and do what others don't do. It might be put in the work to put up 100 posters at 100 shops. That'll help. Make sure that those posters aren't just generic. Make sure they say, I am a mum, and it will be me who works with your child. Okay, be real if you're just getting started. And again, don't try and look like, oh, we. Like, there is no we. There's just you and your teddy bear. Okay, just be honest, just be personal. But in terms of marketing, it would definitely be LinkedIn. In terms of the real world, just be brave, be honest, and make promises and then go and keep them.
Yeah, awesome. You definitely have stood out as the guy that is on LinkedIn so much, and I think you've established quite a comfortable space there and helping people get connected. Yeah, you brought proof of that 100%, right? So when you talk about LinkedIn being a viable place to get started, be visible, you've shown that, and so that builds a lot of equity and trust for people seeing what you're doing. Look, if people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
They could either contact you guys if they don't have my details, I'm sure you pass them on, or they can look for athletickoala.com.au and see all the different stuff that we do, or they could just go and ask anyone they like on LinkedIn, who's that weird guy who just constantly talks about NDIS and puts that post about random things and does like pretends to be a school teacher, and they'll find me. Okay, but here's the thing, you don't need Michael Clark. What you need is the initiative and the willingness to do what others aren't doing. If you're small, go and be small, because other small people aren't acting small. If you're overwhelmed by work, do what others won't do. Go and get a business coach. If you're stuck, do what others won't do. Be honest about it with 2 or 3 key people in your life. But just do what others don't do, and you'll get where others don't get.
I love that. I love it. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Michael. Really appreciate your time and your input and diving into those subjects. And for all our listeners, thank you so much. We will see you on next fortnight's episode.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Profitable NDIS Provider podcast with Tanya Gomez and Paul Bryan. We hope you found today's episode informative and valuable. If you enjoyed the show, please don't forget to subscribe, leave us a rating, and share it with others who could benefit from our insights. Until next time, keep thriving.